Hi guys! So a couple years ago I wrote this piece of software which is capable of classifying percussion sounds in real time, and somebody was asking me about it recently, so I wanted to make a little video just to show kind of how the software works. And so the software I have in this folder here, and I'll put a link to this somewhere, so if you want to play with this you can just download this folder. And this software is basically, it's just a C command line program, so there are a bunch of C source files in here, and this will compile either on OS X or on Linux, although I haven't tested Linux in a while, but I'm going to compile it right now on OS X. So I have my terminal window open, and I can just kind of go to this folder and then just compile it, and I link it against the OS X audio toolbox for audio processing, and so that compiles, and then I can just run the software. And so there are a bunch of options here, and maybe I'll talk more about what these options are in just a moment, but I'll start by pressing 1, the button 1 on my keyboard, and now it's listening for me to play percussive sounds, and each time I play a percussive sound, it's going to use that as an example of like kind of sound category 1. Okay, so I'm just going to play a bunch of examples of similar percussive sounds. And you see each time I clapped, this program printed out a line that shows, yeah, some numerical values. And it's not too important what those are, but now I'm going to press the button 2 on my keyboard, and now I'm going to play examples of a different type of percussive sound, and I'll just play several examples of that. Okay. Okay, and then I'll press the button 3 on my keyboard here, and so now I'll play a third type of percussive sound. So I'll do this. Okay, and now I'm going to press Q to quit out of the training mode. So there you go. And so now all of those training examples have been saved, and this software now should be able to recognize the difference between these different types of percussive sounds. So if you remember, clapping was category 1, spoons was category 2, and the coffee cup was category 3. So this should be 2. And you see every time I do this, it prints out a line, and each time it recognizes that that's category 2. Or if I clap, that should be category 1. Okay, the coffee cup was category 3. I don't know, 2 again. 1. Okay, 3. Okay, it looks like maybe it thought some of those were 2 and it was supposed to be 3, so it's not 100% accurate, but for the most part, every time I play a sound, it recognizes first that I played a sound, and it also recognizes specifically which sound that I played. And then just to show you some of these options here, so these, if you press buttons 0 through 9, you'll enter the training mode for that category of sound. So I guess that using this software you can only train 9 categories of sound, although there's no real reason for that limit except for the fact that there are only 10 numbered buttons on your keyboard. Yeah, so I could all of those training examples get stored as little AIF files, and so the software remembers its training basically, even after you quit the software. And so you can use the C button to delete all of those if you want to start training from scratch. Or you can use lowercase c button to delete the last training example that you played. This G for generate rhythms, I'm pretty sure that that doesn't actually do anything. That might just be a mistake. This K is because sounds are being classified with K nearest neighbors classifier. Upper and lowercase t increments and decrements the onset threshold. And this is if you make a sound and it doesn't detect it, then maybe the threshold is too high. Or if you make a sound and it detects like several sounds in a row, even though you only made one sound, then maybe the threshold is too low. So you could adjust the threshold, but usually what it means, if one of those things happens, it means that your mic volume is either too high or too low. So usually what you should do is just adjust the volume of your mic, and you shouldn't really need to touch these too much. The button V does cross-validation on the training example, so if I just press the button V here, it'll tell me that, so it does leave one out cross-validation. It's basically looking to see how confused it is between the different stroke categories. And so it looks like there's some small amount of confusion, but not very much for those examples that I played. And then there is also this feature mask. So for instance, if I press Shift in one of the features that this thing is listening to is spectral centroid. And by pressing Shift +1, I turn that off. So now if I try to do this, it'll basically just ignore spectral centroid. And if I press Shift +1 again, it'll turn that back on. And one of the features is amplitude. And that might be one that some people would want to turn off because you might want this software to detect a sound no matter how loud or quiet it's played. Like if you're clapping very loud versus clapping very quietly, you might want to turn the RMS feature off. Okay, so one other thing this piece of software does is every time you play a percussive sound, in addition to printing this line out down here, this software also broadcasts an OSC message out kind of within your computer. And you can then receive that message in other software. So that kind of allows you to interface this piece of software with whatever other software you might be using. And so just to show you a quick example, I will open up Max MSP. Okay, and so I get a new window here, and so you can receive OSC messages in Max MSP with UDP receive object, and my software is sending on port 1234. Okay, and then I can make a little message here that will just print out whatever this thing kind of receives here. And so now you should see if I clap, I get, in addition to having printed this message here in the terminal window, I also get some information here in this Max MSP application, and it'll always be this word /onset, followed by the category, which was stroke category 1, okay, and then followed by the RMS amplitude. Okay, so in principle, if I clap louder, it should be a larger number there. If I do it quieter, it should be a somewhat smaller number there. And then I can also do the different stroke categories. So category 2. Okay, and category 3. And yeah, every time I do that, a message comes here. So then you could use that information to control some other things. And so if you want to kind of use this classifier as part of some other system, you don't necessarily have to write your whole system in C just so it's compatible with my thing, or you don't have to translate my thing out of C into your language of choice. You can just use these OSC messages to pass information between my software and your software. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that for now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.